Cody Ringel is in a position that many of you would like to be in. As the leader of the Active Life Flagship facility, he is running a place that was profitable in the beginning of year 2 as a from-scratch business. There are currently 4 full-time professional coaches there, all of whom are projected to earn between $8,000 and $9,000 per month, not exceeding 25 to 27 hours on the floor. We turn away 75% of all people we consult with to other businesses in town. We convert 75% of all leads that we decide should work with us. And we are the most expensive business in town by a very large margin, and the only one helping people get out of pain without going to the doctor, without missing or compromising their active lifestyle. Cody Ringel is smart, articulate, and he's going to help you understand how he got here. You know what I was thinking about today?
Fluffing?
As a profession, very interesting. But no, first of all, thank God Sean's not here, eh?
Yeah.
He's probably listening to this on repeat, cutting his potatoes on his counter right now for the week, whatever the hell he does. Giggling, thinking about how important he is because we're talking about him. But I mean,
we got to stop opening the podcast that way.
Big value upgrade.
Yep.
I don't know anything about how you got here because you're in a pretty impressive position. I think there are a lot of people that would like to be in your position. Why don't we talk about that?
Okay, where do you want to start?
I don't know. Where you want to start?
We can start buying the gym.
Start at buying the gym?
Well, everything that happened before that, right? So, okay, high school athlete, college athlete, played football, played rugby, had an outlet for my competitive energy.
Ate raw bacon occasionally.
Ate raw bacon. That happened a little bit later, but yes.
All right.
Had an outlet for my competitive energy, ended up dropping out of college for a couple of reasons. Girl that I was dating, dad got sick, ended up dropping out, not going back, and ended up back in my hometown. It wasn't really my hometown, but it was the town that was 5 minutes away.
Okay.
So close enough. And I was the type of person who, senior year of high school, we have to do these speeches for communications class. And my speech starts with, I hope you guys got enough of me in high school because you'll never see me at a reunion.
Attaboy.
And then I end up back in the town, right? Not that close enough.
Joke's on you, I guess.
Yeah, no shit. So I'm very angry.
All right.
I have no outlet for my energy from like 19 to 23. I get arrested 4 times, or maybe it was 5 years. So like 19 to 24, I get arrested 4 times.
Public fluffing?
No, a lot of drunken disorderlies, actually. Actually, most of them were that.
Yep. All right.
So I get arrested those 4 times, and then I end up finding CrossFit. Right? I find it. It's everything that I need it to be at that stage of my life. I credit it at the time, and even now, I credit it for creating a separate and alternative future for myself. It helped me a lot.
What was it doing for you that you needed it to do at the time?
It gave me a purpose. It gave me something to do that wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
Right. It gave me a place. It gave me a person to be. It gave me an identity where I had lost that.
So it stabilizes and focuses you for a period of time where you felt like you were out of order. You weren't focused or purposeful.
Yep.
Okay.
6 months after starting, get my level 1 to start coaching. I signed up for my level 1 before even asking the gym owner if he wanted me to coach for him. I was like, oh, by the way, I'm doing this thing. Would you want me to coach for you?
But you knew you wanted to do it either way.
I knew I wanted to do it either way. He's like, yeah, obviously. Cool. So I start coaching, and 6 months later, he invites me out to the bar to have a couple drinks, and almost as soon as I sit down, he looks at me and he goes, so I'm either going to close the gym or sell it to you. What do you want to do? And I said, okay. And I got 2 partners together, and we ended up buying the facility, and this was 2015. So this was 2014. January of 2015 was our first month of owning the thing. And we rebranded what was CrossFit Pursuit to Fortitude Strength and Conditioning, the home of CrossFit Cold Water, which is a fucking mouthful.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that title?
Because we wanted something that wasn't just CrossFit, because even then I had ambitions to work with youth athletes. So I wanted a strength and conditioning that was also the home of this thing, but I didn't want it to just be that.
I see. All right. That checks out.
Yeah. So buy the gym, 2015, coaching there for 2 years as a part-time owner, right? I had a full-time job. I was working in a trailer factory.
Okay.
I had worked up from the trailer. I had a lot of factory jobs.
Factory jobs. So just a lot of cocaine,
No cocaine at
Lot
this
of-
time.
Basically, cocaine,
Nicotine, Monster Energy drinks,
raw bacon. And a boy.
Yes.
That's our guy.
Go from the production floor to a design engineer job. Very cushy job for the time, a guy who hadn't graduated college, $65,000 a year.
I love how qualified you were for that.
I actually lied in the interview.
Oh, I believe that.
They asked me, hey, have you ever done AutoCAD before?
Fuck yeah, dude.
And I was like, yeah, in high school.
All right.
I had never done AutoCAD.
Googled a couple articles.
No, I actually had a really great, one of the guys who worked in the department taught me everything.
Nice.
And I ended up becoming in charge of the most expensive line of fifth wheels, designing them for that company.
This is how America's made, dude.
Yeah.
Love it. To your credit, you acquired what I imagine was a radically uninteresting skill for you to make something work.
Yeah.
I give you a lot of respect for that.
It was fun. It was a fun problem to solve. And then once you figured out how to solve it, it was like, fuck, how much longer am I going to do this?
Yeah. You were burning it pretty hard for a while between those two jobs, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I would coach in the morning after I got off of the floor, because on the production floor, we started at 5 a.m. I lived an hour away. So I was up at 3:30 a.m. I was on the road by 4. I was on the floor. Like, we ran.
At the factory?
At the factory, because it was piece rate. You would get paid for the amount of work. It didn't matter if it took you 6 hours or 10 hours.
So you work 5 to when?
Depending on the day, 10 to noon, maybe 2 on really late days.
Okay.
And then I get home, shower, eat some food. I'm at the facility by 3:30 to coach the school that we had, the after school strength and conditioning program, 4:30, 5:30 classes. And that was, I would get done by 6:30, clean up, 7 o'clock, I'm home. I'm in bed by 8, 9, back up at 3:30, 5 days a week.
It's a serious week, dude.
Did that for a couple of years.
You did that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Any significant changes in those couple of years that are noteworthy to those businesses or that job? Or
No, I mean, the business stayed exactly like you would imagine it stayed. It was a hobby that I told myself was, when it becomes viable, then I'll make it a full-time thing.
I see.
Right.
So the goal was, I would love to be able to gym full time.
Yep. Well, I had 2 partners too, right? So they had equity in the
full-time.
business. They were not. They both had other things
Okay.
too. So nobody was full-time. I mean, we had 2 classes, 3 classes, 4 classes a day, and that was it. There was nothing that happened between the hours of 6:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. The business was just closed. I think we made, like, when we bought the facility, it was making $4,000 a month.
Fun.
Yeah. We're like,
was
this
that-
will become a real thing.
What was that covering?
It was covering expenses, and that's it. It was covering the month-to-month operating. No one was getting paid.
I see.
We had all coaches that were doing it for the love of the game.
Right.
We had owners who
Yourself
were doing it.
included.
Yes. We had owners who were doing it because one day this could be a thing. But there was no urgency. There was no urgency until December 18th of 2016, when my father passed away. My father dies. I go through like a real dark night of the soul for about a month.
How old are you then?
27. And it was like, it wasn't a gentle thing either. Like, it was my dad was at my house. I was an hour away staying with a girl that I was dating. I came home, found him dead on the couch. Like, fuck.
For people who haven't heard the phrase dark night of the soul, what happens that month?
That month, well, it starts with heavy drinking, hardly sleeping,
What was your poison?
whiskey.
What kind?
By
By the way, I don't know shit about whiskey. I feel like that's the question you ask. What kind?
Didn't matter.
Got it.
Yeah.
Whatever got the job done.
Yes. Usually Jack Daniels.
Okay.
Drinking for a solid week. I don't remember much about that week. Like, I remember giving my father's eulogy.
So you're basically drunk for a week.
Yeah. 3 weeks after that, or for the next 3 weeks, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like, how am I going to deal with this? I'm the executor of the estate because he doesn't have a will. He doesn't have any of these documents or paperwork done.
It's just deferred to you now as the executor of the state.
Yeah. I have to figure out everything post-mortem, right? What to do with his estate, his houses, his bills, all of the things. And he had medical bills because he died. He had a heart defect, open heart surgery. So he died with a ton of debt.
What a shit show, man.
It was one of the worst experiences of my life. And it was also the greatest lesson that my father ever taught me. He showed me exactly the type of life that I did not want to have.
Well, at the very least, have your shit together.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what else goes on that month?
So that month I start like thinking, by the end of the month, I start to get some space and I start to open up and I start to derive the lessons and I get out of the pain of it, right? Because in the beginning, it's very victim-centric.
That's pretty fast, man. That's
Well,
pretty fast.
It starts. I'm not saying that it was all the way done. I was healing for another couple of years.
Okay.
Right. But I started to see something different. I started to see an alternative, again, another fork in the road. Right. So it was actually 6 months after that I stood on a box after we did Murph or something, I think. And I told the community that I was quitting my job and I was going full-time as a gym owner. So I went full-time as a gym owner 6 months after my father passes. I make $11,000 in the next 6 months. I cash in my 401k.
You do or the gym does?
I do.
You do.
Me do. And by me do, I mean that's the only profit that was left over in the gym.
Yep.
Right? I cash in my 401k from my business, which was another like $11,000, $12,000 after covering bills. Right. So I float there and then so this gets us to what? The beginning of 2018, beginning of 2018, we're getting some traction, right? Like it's amazing what happens when it takes your full fucking focus and you have your back against the wall and it has to be successful.
Yeah. You didn't have a choice.
Right. I didn't give myself a choice.
That's a better way to say it.
We start to get traction. Business starts to pick up. Middle of 2018, I start hiring a couple coaches. When I first hired these two coaches, both of them, I paid them $400 a week. That was all that I could afford to pay them. And I paid myself maybe $200 a week because it was future thinking, right? It was like, okay, how can I grow this thing into a way where this is going to pay way more money to everybody involved at some point in time? And we were just having fun. Like we were working out in the middle of the day. We were coaching classes. We were starting to do some personal training, right? We were trying to grow the business. I hired my first mentor at like end of 2017, 2018, barbell business from way back in the day. They became Gym Right. I ended up then getting into Two Brain and then finding Active Life. And that's the mentorship progression. So 2018, I start to make this a real business. I get a contract with the local high school to do strength and conditioning for all of their teams. We had done for a couple teams and the coaches who really wanted it. But this was the first year that we were going to have a contract for the full year to do all of the strength and conditioning for all of their athletes. So in the summer, we would have an additional 5 to 6 sessions a day where each sport would come in and train with us for an hour. Right. So the football team had 2 blocks. The volleyball team had a block. The cross country team had a block. Right. So
you definitely got plugged in there. That's pretty cool.
We did. Well, the athletic director or the assistant athletic director was a client of the CrossFit gym. So we had an in. The head football coach was a client of the CrossFit gym.
Nice.
We had an in.
I imagine you guys were probably the best show in town for people who were interested in pursuing higher levels of health and fitness in a consolidated way.
There were only 2 CrossFit affiliates, and then there were 2 or 3 Globo gyms.
Yep.
So yeah, we went for a long time. We flew the flag of the best CrossFit affiliate in Coldwater. Right.
Hey,
it worked
stake
for
the
when it
ground
worked.
You can, eh?
Exactly. It worked for when it worked, and I had a lot of love. I enjoyed that time. I enjoyed the hustle of that time. I didn't enjoy the impact or income that I was making at that time. Right. Went through this. When we transitioned to starting to pay coaches, those coaches who were doing it for the love of the game got mad. They got resentful. They got angry.
Over
they
what?
Left.
Wait. Over what?
Because it was no longer going to be just coach when you want to, because you're doing it for free.
So you imposed structure and principles.
Yes.
And they were like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Correct.
Hey, it's Dr. Sean here reminding you that if you are a coach who wants to fill the gap neglected by fitness and healthcare, and you want to make a career doing it, we might be able to help you. Head to the show notes. There's a link there. You're going to click that link to download the ALP curriculum. That's the stuff that we teach to coaches over the course of 13 months to turn them into world-class professionals who never have to worry about missing a paycheck again, doing work they love to do. Go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you on the other side. Let's get you back to the show.
The fallout that I had with one of my business partners was a result of one of those coaches deciding to leave. And I was even going to give him, from when we started paying coaches or when he started coaching, I even did the math and I worked backwards. On average, you coach 3 classes a week. So you've been doing this for like a year when we decided to start paying coaches. So I'm going to prorate you a membership. Like I'm not going to charge you for a membership for the next 6 months. And then at the end of that, You're going to start paying a membership because you decided you no longer want to coach. The next day he comes in, cleans out his locker, talking shit all through the community, the town, whatever, about how I'm such an asshole. Whatever. He leaves, hire those 2 coaches. One ended up becoming my business partner in gym number 2. It was Seth, right, who you met at the bachelor party. So he sticks it out. He mentors under me for about a year in how to run a business. He was the head coach for all intents and purposes. Right. And then we decide to open up gym number 2. This was one of those things where when we were out at the bar drinking, it was like, you know what we should do? We should open up a CrossFit Angola.
Perfect logical sequence.
Yes.
So was the gym effective enough that you guys had the capital to do that?
No.
I see.
No. This was, I mean, it was self-funded.
I see.
Right. So I think it cost us at the time, it probably cost like 19 to 20 grand each to open up a facility, start it from the ground up, build all the things, like do all the things we needed to do. So we just we found that money. I borrowed money. I borrowed money from my my older sister and her husband, which I paid back with interest, which I was very proud of. And we opened up the second facility in 2019. So gym number 1 is starting to do pretty well. Gym number 2 is just starting. And then Seth finds Active Life. I didn't even find Active Life.
Oh, interesting.
He found it for the movement assessment seminar or the coaching excellence seminar, coaches awareness seminar, whatever you guys ran. We go to Madison, go through that 2-day where you just learn the assessment, right? You learn how to assess people and sell one-on-one 6 magic questions, shit like that. We then end up on a call with Sean the next week talking about ProPath, something that hadn't existed and in retrospect was being built as we were the first cohort.
Yeah, it was.
And a week later, we enroll in the first cohort of the ProPath because we were able to split the costs across both gyms.
Oh, I see.
So it was $24,000 at that point in time, $2,000 a month. And we were able to do 1,000 from Fortitude and 1,000 from CrossFit Angola. 2020, January, I had a profound moment in my facility that we had been involved with Active Life for probably 3 or 4 months. Group classes are booming. Like the group class that's going on, and this is probably 5 o'clock in the evening. The group class that is going on is full. There's 15 to 20 people.
Is that the first time a class was full?
No. Classes being full wasn't that
So
big
what's
of a deal.
remarkable about this?
Just wait a fucking second.
You don't want me to jump 16 steps ahead and cut
No.
you off? All right,
No.
got it.
Group class is full. There are 2 people in the corner doing open gym. There's another guy who is a drop-in who's carrying a yoke on his back and like weaving in and out of people. I'm trying to onboard somebody in the corner. And we had a 4,000 square foot floor. Like it was enough room, barely. But the 2 people who were doing open gym, one of them complained incessantly about her fucking back pain. But she's doing deadlifts and burpees because she doesn't like the workout that's programmed for the workout of the day.
Right.
Which was more like corrective stuff.
Deadlifts will get you jacked. Burpees will get you ripped, right?
Yeah.
So
and it's
she's
great
after?
for your back.
Right.
When you have dysfunction.
Fuck.
So dude's bobbing and weaving in and out, carrying a yoke on his back to drop in. And I'm trying to onboard somebody.
Right.
And we have the best month ever. We're making $18,000 in a month. I had never seen revenue like that in the business. And I look around and I go, what the fuck are we doing here? I had never been more successful by the financial metric and uninspired to own the business that I had.
It's a hell of a combination.
Yeah, dude. It was a wild moment. I still remember the feeling of looking around. Like I can still see all of those people vividly. COVID comes, shuts us down. We're still mentoring with Active Life, which was super helpful. I don't think we lost less than 5% of the entire membership base through COVID.
That's cool.
Yeah. They borrowed equipment. We did Zoom classes, remote programming, things like that for them with them. When we come back from COVID, we still have to be outside. So I rent an event tent, like a 20 by 60. We're outside for 3 months, pulling equipment in and out every single day. We're still doing the sports programs for the youth athletes, for the high schoolers.
All under the tent.
All under the tent. COVID that year, 2020 and 2021 were our 2 best financial years in the history of the business. Some people had a wildly different experience.
Yep. We've heard a lot of that.
It was great for us. I de-affiliate middle of COVID like a lot of people did. It became this isn't worth it for me, and Glassman sticking his foot in his mouth just became the easy exit. It was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what he did. I don't give a shit what he said. It became for me the excuse that I was looking for to create separation from the brand. Looking back, I don't know that I would make the same decision in the same way.
Interesting.
Because the market in Coldwater wasn't interested in what we were aspiring to do. So we still have good years, right? Through 20 and 21. We're growing the business, doing more personal training. We're able to open up back inside. We've got the whole like 12 by 12 stations, only 10 people in a class, the whole thing. We start introducing the hybrid class, which was the Ascend model, our version of it, right? We called it Resilience. Put those at peak times. So 6 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. And we put the group classes around them.
I see.
Yeah, we put the group classes around them. Friction started to ensue.
Oh, you don't say.
Yes. So the people who came to me for personal training and individual design to get out of pain only came to get back to doing CrossFit. That was it. Like for them, that was the end of the road.
Okay.
The people who did the Ascend class, which was the resilience class, always wondered and saw CrossFit as the end for them, like the thing that they would eventually be able to graduate to. So regardless of how they felt and how successful they were being, they saw us, the value proposition was still a place that was fun, energy, atmosphere, excitement, and traditional group classes. That was one of like when I started to realize, and I let that happen for like 6 months. I just let both of those things coexist because things were starting to go well. At the end of the 6 months, like in probably month 4, I started to see a downtrend because what was happening was the people who were there for group class no longer aligned with my vision and my values because I didn't want to have a CrossFit affiliate anymore. Like the decisions that I made for the business were selfish. They were the business that I wanted to have, and I didn't give a shit whether you liked it or not.
Well, to a large degree, I would say that that's a responsible decision for an owner to make, as long as there's enough alignment in the marketplace.
That's the thing, right? I agree with that. And there wasn't enough alignment in the marketplace, and this was demonstrated through the next couple of years of the business.
What about, all right, I want you to finish. I have a question, but I want you to keep going.
Ask your question.
No, you might answer it. You might answer it. Go ahead.
So if I were to go back in time and redo this, I would do a full rebrand. I would close Fortitude Strength and Conditioning, and I would open a new facility.
There we go. But so what about, but there isn't the market for this here?
Because there may be, I mean, the median income in Kohler is $40,000. All right. So just the metrics by that, they're like, maybe it could work. I mean, we had some people who were doing personal training, not a significant portion of the business, maybe 50 to 60% of the revenue was coming from that. But we never hit that KPI of 70 to 80% where I could be like, okay, we no longer need group classes. I mean, we had dirt cheap rent for the first 5 years, 6 years of the business. We were paying $900 a month, $1,100 a month for 6,000 square
That's a good
feet.
deal. I know people who are paying $9,000 a month for rent.
Yes. We're paying $8,000 a month for 3,000 square feet here.
Yep.
So we were crushing it. And when they wanted to double rent, because a new owner took over, that was one of the nails in the coffin for us because we were operating on such thin margins, even still, because I wanted to, by 2022 and 2021, I wanted to pay coaches to be able to make a living. And I did. We had myself and 2 other professionals were making over $50,000 a year. And that's significant. Again, median household, not individual household income is 40.
You're doing well in Coldwater if you're making 50K.
Yes.
Yep.
We were doing that. The market, like the things start to shift, right? Because my values change. I no longer am inspired to own a group fitness, a CrossFit gym, a training facility. Those people who had been long-term clients, stuck with us through COVID, were there since day one. They stayed for a while. But then what would happen is they would stop showing up. They would still pay their membership for a couple months, right? Because it was $120, $139. So they still paid it for a couple of months. And then I'd get a cancellation email and they'd be angry. They'd be resentful and they'd be bitter because they felt like I took something away from them. The people who were doing the Ascend were still confused because we had this other thing, like this templated group class. Why would I be paying you $549 a month when I can go do that and it looks like the same thing? I mean, yeah, it's not individual, but it's $139. It's a third of what I'm spending now. Why can't I go do that? Well, you see, it's not actually the right fit for you. Then why do you offer it? Fuck. Well, I offer it because we've always been offering it. And there's a lot of people there that have been with me this whole time that I care for, I respect, I enjoy, and I want them to stay. I want to have a place for them. Even when I moved here in 2022, right? So I make the decision in 2022 that I'm no longer inspired to live in Coldwater, Michigan. If you didn't already see that coming, I let my mentor at the time know. And he's like, well, funny enough, it was Dan. Right? He's like, funny enough, we're looking for a mentor. I said, great. I'd love the opportunity. 2 weeks after that, he's like, we've been talking and we're opening up a facility in Long Beach. And we have a short list of people that we'd like to run it. And you're the first person I'm talking to. You want the job? And I said, yes. And 6 weeks later, I was here. It was the opportunity that I was looking for at the moment to do something that I was actually inspired by again, in a place that I was inspired to do it. So I move here, keep facility number 1 open for a couple months. Again, hindsight's 2020. I would have closed it when I left. I should have closed it when I left. Because it was fledgling. Like it was still there, and I wanted it to still be there for the coaches. I didn't want it to still be there for me because I was never going to go back.
Yeah.
But I kept it there for other people. Right? I left it there for them. 3 months later, my operator, who sends me a Slack message on a Sunday because I missed a meeting.
Oh, I remember this.
I scheduled a meeting in fairness, I scheduled a meeting for me, her, and the other coach at the time to have a Zoom call on Saturday at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. We're playing basketball that Saturday. I completely lose track of time. I don't get into the meeting until 10:30. This to her was, you don't respect my time. I violated a boundary by accepting a meeting on Saturday. You didn't show up. You called the meeting. Here's my resignation, effective immediately. The health of the business was also in the way, like it needed someone who was going to own it and drive it forward. Neither one of them were going to be that person. I then decide, okay, I talk with Steve, who you met again at the bachelor party. We could have either kept it, tried to push forward, or decide it's time to close. And we went back and forth for about a week. I was like, do we thug this out? I'm not moving back to Coldwater, by the way. And he's like, yeah, I think we can do it. And I'm like, okay, maybe we can. It's going to take a lot of energy. I'm trying to build the facility here. At the time, I'm like, look, this is time. This is the straw that breaks the camel's back. This is our out. We close it, sell the equipment. Facility number 2 keeps going. I'm still an owner there for another year until my partner at the time, or my partner says, you know what? This has been so helpful for me to have you for the last 4 years. I have this voice in the back of my head that's telling me I can't do it on my own. I can't do it on my own. I can't do it myself. So I'd like to talk about buying you out. And I said, dude.
Because in other words, he wants to prove that voice wrong. He doesn't want to believe that voice.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I see you as a safety net. And as long as I always have you, you're always going to be a safety net. And I need to know that I can do this myself. I said, cool. We agreed on a number. He bought me out. And my focus has been fully, it was only 5% of the time I was focused on that while I was here. But that's 5% more energy that now goes into this. So for over a year now, like the facility, I haven't been a multiple facility owner. I've been running the Flagship.
Damn. I appreciate that depth and color.
You're welcome.
Have you found that, there's one thing that I have been trying to put the language behind, and I think that you have enough experience to be able to describe something that I've seen and understood, but haven't experienced myself. When there's the owner of a business who is afraid of changing the business to align with their values because they're worried about the uproar, the upheaval. Can you describe how you would paint out, well, look, these are the options. Like, how would you help someone work through that kind of thinking when they're in the position where they want to be more selfish about having a business that's in alignment with what they want, but they're worried about their customers that bought something else in the past not being their customers anymore because that's not what they signed up for? How do you help someone think through that?
2 things come to mind immediately. Number 1, it's your business. You need to decide what you want from it. So that might mean you're going to dramatically change the structure and the way that you run the thing.
But if one of the things I want from it is money and all of my customers leave, how does that help me?
What's more uninspiring to you? And I'll use the negative purposefully. 2 years from now, you have the exact same business and you're making the same amount of money because you're going to hit a market cap. That's just the way that it's going to go. You have the exact same business, you're making the same amount of money. What is your personal, what is your life? What does everything look like for you 2 years from now if nothing changes?
Okay.
Is that good enough? Is that inspiring to you? It goes back to what you were talking about on your episode, right? I'm always willing to make the change because I'm inspired by the potential that I can create rather than staying right where I am right now. Okay. The second thing that comes is I get it coming from CrossFit. You think that they're your friends. They're not. They're your customers. They're your clients. And here's a perfect example. Take away a class time and raise rates. If those are your friends, they're going to stay with you. If they're your clients, they're going to bitch about, or they're your customers, they're going to bitch about you increasing the price. I thought we were friends. Like, how could you do this to me? And anytime you take something, you take away a session time, they're going to take it personally. That's how you know, is this your friend? Because your friends are going to support you regardless. And I had people who left as clients and we stayed in connection. We stayed as friends. That was great. They're good people. The overwhelming majority took my actions to change the structure of the business, to raise rates, or to change class times as a personal attack on them and me taking something from them because it's a transactional relationship.
So facing the fact that this is going to be a transactional relationship and you need to have transactional relationships to run a business successfully, you might as well have the transactional relationships that are going to be value aligned and pay you well.
Yes.
Yeah, that whole, you think they're your friends, they're not. That hit hard.
Yeah.
What else?
That's it.
All right, good job.
See you out there.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you are going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Till the next show, turn pro.